The following is a mechanically reproduced announcement, previously recorded from a live WHVR-DB scheduled program. This is not a live broadcast. All guests, callers, and hosts granted WHVR Digital Broadcasting permission to be recorded. Thank you for listening to WHVR Digital Broadcasting. Ghost activity, fringe science, interdimensional beings, psychic phenomenon, and conspiracy theories. Does the truth exist? How close are we to finding it? Come listen and discover the answers yourself. Welcome to the Paranormal MD, where the out of the ordinary is discussed weekly. Join your host, Mary Marshall, and her guest as they inform, discuss, and entertain you. Mary welcomes your input during the program, so call in and let your opinions and voice be heard. And be sure to join us at WHVRdigital.com, where live chat is provided. Talk radio just got weirder, wiser, and more interesting. Now, here is your host of the Paranormal MD Radio Show, Mary Marshall, only on WHVR Digital Broadcasting.
Good evening and welcome to the Paranormal MD. I'm Mary Marshall, your host, and it is my pleasure to be here tonight with all of you. Thank you for joining me here on the Unexplained channel at 24.7 The Stream. This program is sponsored in part by HauntedMindTV.com, where you can earn up to $10,000 just by becoming an annual subscriber and submitting an easy essay. Visit HauntedMindTV.com for more information and your chance to visit the Crescent Mine. The guest I want to let everybody know for this evening, who will be joining us a little later on in this broadcast, is Spring. Well, let's put it this way. I'll rephrase this. Her official long full name is Lady Springwolf. She is just a fabulously awesome person. I cannot wait to just really get into a good conversation with her on some things. But to tell you a little more specifically about her and what she does, she is a Ph.D. and an author and a teacher of pagan metaphysics, spiritual enlightenment, and personal development, and is well versed in esoteric material. She has written many articles for magazines around the world concerning metaphysical principles and pagan practices. She is the author of Pagan Metaphysics 101, The Beginning of Enlightenment, as well as others in the series. So we will be speaking with her a little later on in the broadcast. One thing I'd like to do, and I always do this, is to personally invite those of you who are listening to my voice right now. Yes, you. The ones that are not in the chat room, come join us in the chat room in the Unexplained channel at 24.7 The Stream. It's slowly filling up in there, so come, take a peek in. It is a great place for those that are listening to the show to congregate together. You're there with like-minded people who are listening to the show just like you. You can make comments in there. You can pose questions besides chit-chatting with each other about what's going on with the show. And your chat master, Pam, will relay any questions that you may post for the guest or for me, and she'll relay them to me. And I believe you're supposed to put all your questions, if you're in the chat room, in all caps. So Pam will fill you in once you get in there. So I'll say hi to a few people that are in there now. Hello, Marcellus, Barry, Chip, Deborah. We've got a Chip. Oh, what, Chip? Why are you in here twice? Why are you in the chat room twice? Anyway, for those who have been following along with the roundtable listener discussion panel, this is ongoing. Every couple months we run this. So if you'd like to sign up for this, go over to the Paranormal MD Radio.com. It's right there on the home page. This is your opportunity to be part of the show and voice your thoughts and opinions on topics you may have a special interest in. You will join me and a couple others that are live on the air during one of the broadcasts. You can check out the topics, basically check off what you want to be which one you want to be part of, and that's what we'll be discussing then. So go sign up for the roundtable discussion panel at theparanormalmdradio.com, and that form again is on the home page. The next scheduled one for those of you who are interested is on July 31st. So yeah, those were always a lot of fun. It's really nice because I get to talk with some of the listeners, but also get all the different perspectives, and we just joke and have a good time when we can too, when appropriate, I guess. So it's a lot of fun. So always go sign up for those. And now let me introduce you to your chat master, Pam. Hello, Pam.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
How are you?
I am just doing great. A little hoarse this evening. Or maybe if I'm a little hoarse, does that mean I'm just a little, I was going to make a really bad joke and just say pony. But I
had a couple, but
apologizing for it in my head before it came out of my mouth. So yeah, but I am a little hoarse today. It must be a little allergy thing going on. So we're for those of you who are listening, tonight, Pam is going to be involved, with me, and we're not doing weird world news, or that was almost, I'm having one of those evenings, Pam. It was like weird world. It just didn't want to come out right. But we're not doing that. Pam and I were on investigation this past weekend. We were at Lake of the Red Cedar, which is in Red Cedar. Yeah, in Cedar Lake. That too. Yeah. And we had gone on this investigation, which, by the way, I have posted this, the link for if anybody would like to investigate at this location. What it is it's a historical museum, the first floor currently, and it's under a lot of construction. They're trying to do a lot of rehabbing and make the entire second floor. It's a really large building. And so to fund that, they're actually saying, hey, you want to come in for a paranormal investigation? You call I believe what they call it, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but you can find it on my Facebook page, Lake of the Red Cedar Historical Society. And they will direct you and give you the information. So anyway, we went on this investigation with Marcellus, who does happen to be in the chat room, and had a very interesting time, did we not, Pam?
It was awesome.
It was a lot of
awesome.
Different things we came across this time, or not what we usually do, I would say. Right?
I would be right there with you. There was some things that I have not experienced. Not that I have as much experience as you do on investigations, but some very weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't crazy or anything. It was just unusual.
Unexplainable.
Yeah, unexplainable. Exactly. At least at this point, I'm still searching for some answers. One of them had to do with, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth. We'll rather in starting this is that there was this one particular room in there that, and we never. Oh my goodness! I just went blank. What was Zaphas's show? A collector, haunted collector. How could I forget?
The haunted collector. Yes.
Yeah, and he's always going after the items and the objects, and we generally, we just never do this, and we've talked about it. Like, we should just start trying this. We do end up going in a lot of places with antiques and so forth. So in this particular location, they had, first of all, to back up this story just a bit, the most incredible collection of antiques there.
Oh my gosh, they had tons of cool stuff.
And so much that they haven't, and that's what a lot was go in there that they haven't even gotten to put out, that'll eventually fill up the second floor, but that's all under construction right now. Incredible. I was like, I felt like a, kid in a candy store. Who doesn't want to kind of like, look at stuff when the museum closes kind of feel, So anyway, they did have this one particular room, which was just loaded with items. We had taken and it's not your standard EMF meter, your Mel or something like that. This particular meter that we have, which is no longer being made, I really, not for lack of anything not working properly on it, I just don't think the guy was able to make money because it was a lot that went into this particular device. But part of it it's taking in your, standard alternating current, type of EMF fields, also ELF and VLF, extremely low frequency and very low frequencies. And those are in different ranges, and it's nice to pull them apart because often if you are getting, which happened a few times in this place, just a spike on the ELF, but nothing else is really moving that much. There is belief that this could be indicative of paranormal activity. At least at you need to look into this at this point. Obviously, it would be best, but this is always, I know it is for us, and I'm sure a lot of other teams out there, money is a situation in buying equipment. So if we had, other pieces of equipment that would have been really helpful in discerning a little bit more as far as the specifics, as far as like a magnetometer or a oscilloscope and there's all different kinds. That would have been great. But you can kind of, I don't want to just be like, going on about the story. So, basically I was like, Pam, can you go in this room? And she then went around with this meter, and you can take over and run with the story, Pam.
Well, as Mary said, we had this really cool meter that was my first time to really be the one to operate it, and went into a particular room and started testing some different objects, and one particular object, and pretty much that one particular object in the whole building really started to spike and show some numbers that we've never really gotten on this device before. So we spent some time testing it, both in the location. We moved it out of the location and it was still spiking, but yet the location where it was at when that object was removed went down to a 0. Can't really explain that.
Yeah, because that was my concern, is like you started calling out, and that was, again, most of the evening, we did not have random spiking, because this particular device that we have, we can graph it, so we can keep exactly what the numbers were in time frame. And so I have looked at that, and it literally, from what I can see, so far in looking at it, we're still in review of everything. It really only went off. It's very, very specific times and spiking and not. And when you start calling off, first you're like, oh, wait, it's 6. And then I think when you were like, it's at, I think you called out 20, and I'm like, what? Kind of a thing. The interesting thing is that the item that you did that, and it's just this one particular item, It went to 20, and it did end up going up to 60. So I mean, it was off the charts for that type of thing.
At one point, I think it went up to triple digits, too. I think it was over 100 at one point.
Yeah, this one, like a Mel, that would tap out a Mel. First of all, Mel would lump it all together, so you wouldn't be able to discern, is that an extremely low frequency where it was, what the range was. But when it did do that, my concern obviously became, we were trying to be as careful as possible. This was and I will say this, a more relaxed investigation, because it was a public thing. We didn't have a client to go there and have to answer to a client per se. And, but nonetheless, it was like you could just go maybe 5 inches to the left, to the right, above. It just nothing just this.
Well, I went through that whole room. There was a lot of other stuff in that room, and I put that meter next to just about everything else in that room and got nothing. Only that one object. And
that's what I mean. You could just go a little, and nothing else was registering. And you did go through that whole room. And then it's a 1940-ish, which I have to look up the make and model if I can track that down yet, vacuum cleaner. None of this stuff is plugged in. As a matter of fact, there is not power through most of this building in this area. However, I still wasn't convinced, that it's just freaking out on this one item. So we took the vacuum cleaner and removed it and put it out in the hallway, and then Pam proceeded to read, and I'm like, go, right? It was like, go all the way to the floor. I want to make sure there was no live wiring or something we're missing. 0, flat line, no read, no
nothing where the item has been at.
Now,
there was nothing.
It's probably, I'm guessing, 20 feet away at this point, out the hall and up a little bit. We had put the vacuum cleaner. Guess what happens? You walk over there, and the darn vacuum cleaner was giving off some sort of read. Now, if this thing had been, things cross my mind. One, it's like, well, if it had been a working vacuum cleaner, which we do not know if it was or not, but had been plugged in, it's possible because of the 1940s, the type of metal, there could be iron, maybe it was holding some type of magnetic charge. It just wasn't likely. Because then when we did go back later, when things had kind of quieted down in general in this area, it didn't have any read whatsoever. So it just didn't make sense.
No, it didn't. And Marcellus is saying in the chat room, old wiring can give off EMF even when it's not live. But we weren't getting reads throughout the building at other places.
Yeah, old.
If that was the case.
Yeah. And here's the thing, old wiring, even if it's not live, it is only going to hold a charge for a certain amount, the static as far as going. If it's dead, if you get something's dead, it's dead. If it's not connected, it's either connected and live or it's not connected. And if it's not connected and it's, nothing's being used in that area. But see, here's the thing again. If that was the case, then it shouldn't have followed the vacuum cleaner. It should have stayed in that area. That's why I had you put it as high as you could to the ceiling and down all the way to the floor to check that. And nothing else in that entire area read except the vacuum cleaner. So it just was odd.
It was weird. It was very.
We are going to have to, we'll post more about this or talk a little bit more about when we get some more information. Right now, we're going to have to take a brief break. So go grab a drink and smile. We'll be right back after this brief break.
You're listening to the Unexplained Network on 24.7 The Stream.
To speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
HauntedMindTV.com is giving a chance for a local fan and guest to come to the Crescent Mine and have the opportunity to earn up to $10,000. To enter, visit HauntedMindTV.com and become an annual subscriber. Submit an essay explaining why you should be chosen to earn up to $10,000. Submit your essay through HauntedMindTV.com's contact area with attached resume and photo and wait for your chance to earn up to $10,000 from HauntedMindTV.com. Fan will be chosen June 10th, 2014, and $1 from every HauntedMindTV.com subscriber is donated to one of our many charities like Wounded Warriors Project, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, ASPCA, or Camp You Can Do. Get started now by visiting HauntedMindTV.com and submit your essay, resume, and photo for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the Crescent Mine. So, do you have what it takes? HauntedMindTV.com. Are you looking for a bigger, better, faster network or hosting solution? Then BBF Network can help. The good people at BBF Network provide hosting, web design and repair, domain registration, consultations, and troubleshooting services for your home or business. Don't trust just anyone with your network solution. Trust the secure and reliable guarantee of BBF Network. Call today at 855-GO-BBF-HOST. That's 855-GO-BBF-HOST. Or visit them on the web at bbfnetwork.com. Providing secure and reliable hosting plans as little as $4.95 per month, you have everything you need to begin your next project. So call today at 855-GO-BBF-HOST. bbfnetwork.com. Making things happen. Get lost in the realm of thrilling mystery with the Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Follow 6 small-town teenagers who decide to make a ghost hunting documentary and become blindly thrown into a world of haunting chills they were not expecting in Lost Mojo. Or follow college student Scotty Brown, who is aggressively haunted by vivid nightmares and daytime apparitions. As he begins to search for answers, he puts himself and those closest to him face to face with pure evil. Can he defeat these malevolent beings with a small team of paranormal investigators? Find out in her second title, Mojo. The Mojo series is available on paperback or digital download on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. The Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Get your copies today if you've got the Mojo. Taxes up. Gasoline up. Healthcare costs up. Food prices up.
Oh, man.
The latest discussion, live chat, and call-ins, all free.
Yippee!
Here on WHVR Digital Broadcasting. We're here to serve you.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Mary Marshall, your host, and you are listening to the Paranormal MD Radio Show live on the Unexplained channel at WHVR 24.7 The Stream. If you'd like to call in with a question or comment, the studio phone lines will be open after 9 p.m. tonight, and that phone number is 618-421-4522. And you know you can always call the show directly from your WHVR or Stitcher phone app too. Oh, but if you haven't downloaded the app, then you should do that now. And that way you can listen to us on the go, and you'll never miss a show. So you can download that app right through the Google Play Store on your phone or tablet. And as many of you already know, the WHVR Digital Broadcasting is now officially a multi-channel network. My show airs on the Unexplained channel over at WHVR, so you can find my show I'm just having a very difficult time, people, talking tonight. You can find the show at WHVRdigital.com /unexplained. now, what I'd like to do is introduce you to our guest for this evening. Her name is Springwolf. She is a Ph.D. and is an author and teacher of Pagan Metaphysics, Spiritual Enlightenment, and Personal Development. She's very well versed in esoteric material, and she has written many articles around the world, and she is also the author of Pagan Metaphysics 101, The Beginning of Enlightenment. And she also, I believe, has a radio show. But without further ado, we can ask her about this. Let me bring her on. Hello, Spring.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Paranormal MD. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm having a good time already, and I haven't even said anything.
You're just having a good time because I'm having a problem getting my words out this evening, aren't you? You're just like, oh, listen to her. No.
As long as it's not just me, you know. You go, girl.
Now, you also do have a radio show, correct?
Yes.
And what?
There's a group here in East Tennessee called SEPS, the Southeastern Paranormal Society. And it's run by a guy named Paul Cagle and Julie, we call Julie Sushi, so I don't think I really can pronounce her last name. So Paul and Sushi and a couple of other members. And they have a radio show called The Enigma Project. And a couple of years ago, they invited me to come on, and I came and stayed. And we have too much fun. We're live on Monday nights at 9 o'clock on Tenacity Radio, tenacityradio.com. But we talk about most of the same kinds of things that you do because they are paranormal investigators here in the East. So they visit some interesting places. They've gone to a couple of Civil War battlefields, which are always kind of interesting. And even though I don't do that kind of thing, I talk to ghosts and spirits and, as a channel and a psychic. So, we kind of look at some of their investigations we'll talk about on the radio from, all different sides, from a scientific point of view, because Sushi is our skeptic, and Paul is the big investigator, and then, I'm the spiritual nutcase that thinks all this stuff is real, and, I don't understand why you all have a problem.
Well, you just mentioned this, and I was going to ask you about this. What is, maybe, I don't know if this is going to be out of order here, meaning I probably should ask you some other questions first, but what is the Enigma Project? You're a speaker educator for that. What does that encompass?
Well, Paul usually picks a topic for the show. So it's a paranormal, metaphysical, spiritual conversation where we have a round table and we talk about a particular topic. They visited a hotel in Tennessee, which I can't remember the name of, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Tennessee. And we talk about its history. We talk about, some of the stories that have come out of the hotel. And then we look for, explanations for it. Paul and Sushi will talk about, it didn't necessarily have to be a ghost, or what do you think would happen if this really did happen in the hotel? And then I kind of come at it from, a spiritual perspective. How would a spirit act in certain situations that would leave a ghost presence behind? So we talk about things like that, other strange things, like there's a bridge in Ireland where dogs can't seem to walk across the bridge. They get close to the bridge and they go crazy. They get away from their owners and they jump over the side of the bridge to their death. And it's happened a multitude of times. So it's a paranormal place, and we talk about, some of the different kinds of things that might cause dogs to do this and, make them go crazy. So I
like that.
We just talk about a lot of weird things.
Weird is good.
Yes.
It's like the same thing when people ask me about this show, and I said, well, anything that's out of the ordinary, and that could be, and sometimes it's just plain weird stuff. It's just something odd. It could be technology, something to do with whatever, Google or, Google that. It could be anything. And I think that's what's interesting.
Yeah, it's the stories that don't get the big press attention, but people want to hear about.
Right.
So why not talk about it?
That's right.
Send the newspaper, let's talk about it.
And have some fun with it, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to have some things, because one of the things I like to do, just like we're saying, talk about things in a way you're getting information out to people too. First, I have to ask, where did your name Springwolf come from?
That's a big, long story. I'll cut it down, but I like this story. When my mom was pregnant with me, I had an aunt. My mom's brother's wife was also pregnant. And our great-grandmother was alive at the time. She died before we were born, so I never got to meet her. And she was of Cherokee descent. She wasn't full-blooded, but she was of Cherokee descent. And she was what today we would call a kitchen witch. And she used to take shamanistic journeys. She used to sit down in a hot house or a steam room. Nothing. No big teepee kind of thing like you hear about. She used to just go down to the YMCA and get in the steam room, and she'd go on a meditation and a journey. And on her journey, she met a white wolf that told her that my mom's child is the one that would carry on her teaching. And the wolf told her that, I would be a visionary. And she met with a red-shoulder hawk on this shamanistic journey. And the hawk told her that I would be able to see things that other people wouldn't be able to see, and that it would be completely natural to me. And they told her a couple of other things that really have nothing to do with the name, so we'll skip that part. And then she came out, and she said that when she came out of her journey, the name that popped into her head was Gogei Wahahe, which in Cherokee is Springwolf. And so she went to my mom, and she told my mom that that I was the one that was going to carry on her mission. And I don't think my mom completely believed in that stuff. My mom was raised Methodist. She was Methodist, when I was growing up. And so I got this information because my great-grandmother wrote letters to me that were supposed to be given to me when I was 13 years old. Well, the family, before my cousin and I were born, the family decided that it wasn't fair after my great-grandmother died. It wasn't fair that all these letters were coming to me, so they split them in half, and they gave half to her and half to me. And to this day, I don't know if I have seen all of the letters. And, now I have all of my relatives are passing away, so I'm probably never going to know. But in the letters, my mom gave them to me when I got into my teens. There were things in there that my great-grandmother told me, to be watchful for, advice and stuff like that, when you're 13 years old, you ain't paying attention to any of this stuff,
Right.
So, they got put away, they got put in a box, and, read them again and put away, put in a box, and I've moved a couple times, and I'm not even sure where those letters are. And now that I'm old now, I really wish I had taken care of them, or I wish somebody had taken care of them for me, because there was a lot of information in there about why she named me what she did. So the spring part is because I was born in the spring. I was born in May. And the wolf part was because the white wolf was the first one that came to her and told her that he would be with me throughout my lifetime.
Wow.
So ta-da.
Ta-da. It's so beautiful. I love to find out where the names originate from, because they are so personal.
Yeah.
To a person.
Well, in the pagan world, when, just like in Christians, when they take their child and go and have it christened, they give it, it has a birth name, and then they give it a christened name, which could be different from what's on their birth certificate. Well, in the pagan world, they do the same thing. If you take a baby to, present it to the universe, whatever God, goddess, or whatever you believe in, present it to the universe and say, here is my child, Springwolf, such and such. You've given it a magical or a mystical name, whatever you want to do. But in the pagan world, when you come of age and you are brought before a council, you're asked if you want to keep your name or if you want to change your name, if you feel you have grown up and developed into something else. So what your parents saw you as may not be what you see yourself as, and you're allowed to change your name. So I could have changed Springwolf at some point, but you know, it was just so perfect. I didn't see any reason.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that because I have a couple friends that it was interesting. I had one friend. It's funny. She was married to somebody, and for those listening to define this between the Chippewa and Ojibwa, that you know the American name, which that makes him crazy, because he's like, I'm not a moccasin. When you say Chippewa. But she always suspected that she had Native American roots, but she didn't know this, and finally went through testing. And, you know, here much later in her life, I don't want to say her age, but, you know, she found this out, and it was just that sense of peace, and she's like, I knew it. You know, just was that connection. And you know, wouldn't normally think it, but there it was. And they have, you know, can do the testing on it. What I wanted to ask you is a little bit about your educational background that led you down this spiritual path.
Well, I don't know. I've always been different. I have two older sisters, and they're both baptized, and I'm not. My parents took them to church. I remember going to church maybe 2 or 3 times. It just didn't seem like it was important. It just didn't seem like, you know, my mom said, you know, she felt bad about it for a while, but then she decided that I just wasn't meant to go that route from the get-go, and it just didn't seem necessary. So I guess there's been some kind of, you know, energy in place, whether we actually knew what it was or gave it a name. It was there and guiding the path from the very beginning. My mom tells a story that I don't remember doing this, but I've heard this story so many times that I almost feel like I remember it. But she says I was about 4 or 5 years old, something like that. I was sitting at the dining room table, and I was coloring, and she was in the kitchen. You know, it's one of those they're connected. So she was in the kitchen, and she was fixing dinner, and I started talking to somebody. And I was having this conversation about things that my mom used to do. And I was asking questions that piqued my mom's curiosity, and she asked me who I was talking to. I told her I was talking to Aunt Pearl. And she's got this funny cat that sits in her lap. And so my mom asked me questions about Aunt Pearl. What did she look like? Did she tell me her name? What was the name of the cat? And I told her the name of the cat. And, you know, she asked me some other questions, and I evidently gave her the right answers that she was looking for. Well, when she told me the story then when I was older and could understand what she was talking about, my Aunt Pearl died years earlier. I never met her. Never seen a picture of her. She had a cat, and I told her the cat's name, and there's no way I would have known the cat. You know, she died before I was born. So I grew up talking to spirits, and it wasn't until I was 14 years old where I discovered, and it really was a shock, I discovered that not everybody does this. I thought this was normal. And everybody does it, you know. Everybody talks to their dead relatives and they come to visit you. I mean, it just seemed like it was natural to me. I didn't understand why other people didn't do it.
Right.
You know. So when I got into my teens and I found this out, that's when I really started, you know, doing reading. I started reading about metaphysics. I started reading about, you know, Native American spirituality and, you know, religion in general. I just took it all in. And Celtic religion and Native American religion really stuck with me. And then when I was in my early 20s, I found out that in my family history, there were other people that were like me, and they were part of a spiritual clan, if you want to call it that, which was a combination of Cherokee and Celtic religions.
That's cool.
Yeah, the Irish pronunciation, I'm not good at this. The Irish pronunciation of this is Deboine, but in American we just say DeBoran.
Okay.
I'm American, it's DeBoran. So anyway, it's a tradition that merges those two belief systems together because they believe in a lot of the same things. They believe in nature spirits. They believe in spirits coming to help you. They believe in various types of little people, from fairies to leprechauns to everything. They both believe in dragons, and they believe that dragons existed and helped people. The Cherokee have a story about dragons that come at the end of fall and burn fields after it's been harvested so that it puts the nutrients back in the ground again, and that the last dragon disappeared somewhere in the early 1800s. I love those kinds of stories. Those kinds of stories, to me, they always have an element of truth to them, even if they've been altered and changed over the evolution of time. And that's the way I see, pagan beliefs. We learn things, and the more we learn about ourselves and the galaxy that we live in, we apply those things to our beliefs so that our belief evolves. And that always interested me when I was growing up, because, growing up in Virginia, everybody I know is Christian.
Yeah.
And some of them Christian perspectives just don't sit well with me. So I didn't want to feel like I was at odds with people. I wanted to understand them, so I would learn about, what they believed and how they practiced. But at the same time, I was trying to evolve what it is I believed in. Even something as simple as what we discovered when we landed on the moon, or what we discover about how the universe was created. All of that stuff is applied in paganism, and either enhances or tells you need to alter what it is that you believe because it's not right. We don't have a problem with that. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No,
I went on a tangent. I had a good time.
Exactly, but it was really good information. I didn't want to stop you because it was, well, here's the thing now. Now, we've only got a couple minutes, but I'm going to ask this anyway before we go to break. Did you get grief? Because now you're I'm thinking smaller or on the small side town in Virginia, like you said, probably very Christian. Yeah. Did you and your family get a lot of, have issues because of paganism?
Well, my family is still pretty much, my mom is still a Methodist, my dad's Methodist, Okay. If you weren't inside our family, you wouldn't know that I was different. Okay. It wasn't until I got into high school that I started letting on that I was different. And, I had friends that, I lost friends because they thought I was just a little bit too weird, and, some that thought I was evil. And by the time those things started to happen to me, I had reached the point where if you can't accept me who I am, I don't need you in my life anyway. So it wasn't a big deal to me personally. I think I had been, without knowing it, I had been prepared as I was growing up for just accepting that, I look at the world differently. It was okay that I didn't go to church. I didn't ask to go to church. It was okay that I didn't get baptized. I had a friend who stopped being my friend when she found out I wasn't baptized. So I learned kind of early on that there are going to be people that don't like me for what I believe in, and that's their problem.
Right. That happens. We are going to have to take a break. I want to let everybody know real quick, if you'd like to find out more about the ongoings of the show or me or guests like we have on this evening, Spring, you can go to the paranormalmdradio.com for all guest information, and links and so forth will all be posted there as well. If you haven't done so already, come join us in the chat room. All right, we're going to take that break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Unexplained Network on 24.7 The Stream.
To speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
HauntedMindTV.com is giving a chance for a local fan and guest to come to the Crescent Mine and have the opportunity to earn up to $10,000. To enter, visit HauntedMindTV.com and become an annual subscriber. Submit an essay explaining why you should be chosen to earn up to $10,000. Submit your essay through HauntedMindTV.com's contact area with attached resume and photo and wait for your chance to earn up to $10,000 from HauntedMindTV.com. Fan will be chosen June 10th, 2014, and $1 from every HauntedMindTV.com subscriber is donated to one of our many charities like Wounded Warriors Project, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, ASPCA, or Camp You Can Do. Get started now by visiting HauntedMindTV.com and submit your essay, resume, and photo for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the Crescent Mine. So, do you have what it takes? HauntedMindTV.com. Paying too much to host your radio program with others? Tired of trying to figure out complicated software programs? Then let WHVR Digital Broadcasting help you. We offer full program production, engineering, promotion, and training so you can take your program to the next level. Don't have a radio show? No problem. Send us your program idea and we can bring it to life for you. We all have something to say, so why not use our quality service to say it? If you're a serious broadcaster and looking for a top quality outlet for your live program, then call us today at 800-653-1680 extension 3. That's 800-653-1680 extension 3. Or visit WHVRdigital.com for more details. Come join our growing network and see why talk is our business and business is good. WHVR Digital Broadcasting. We're here to serve you. 24.7 The Stream started out with nothing.
There's nothing here.
And we still have most of it.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to 24.7 The Stream.
Welcome back. I'm Mary Marshall, your host. You are listening to the Paranormal MD Radio Show, airing live on the Unexplained channel at 24.7 The Stream. If you'd like to call into the show, the phone lines will be open after 9 p.m. So, Spring, you have a doctorate in metaphysical science. Mm-hmm. Also in philosophy. You are philosophy. Is that connected pastoral counseling? Mm-hmm. It's a licensed minister. Okay. Could you explain? Because a lot of people are thinking this. A lot of people associate, and even though we've talked about it a little bit already, associate paganism with witchcraft or the occult in a negative, demonic, even demonic, ways. Can you elaborate for people what that really means and encompasses? Because there's also a difference too, right, between like a pagan metaphysics and other types of metaphysical principles too. So
sort of. Okay. So we'll start at the beginning. Pagan. Pagan is a label of religions that do not follow Abrahamic doctrine. So Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they share a common history, basically the Old Testament. They sort of change paths and go their own little ways at the time of Jesus. Okay. Anybody that doesn't believe in that history is technically categorized as pagan. That would include Hinduism, Buddhism, Native American shamanism, Celtic shamanism, and what we know today as European witchcraft. Okay. Pagan metaphysics is a label that is becoming popular in the occult culture because the label witchcraft, which was given to the religions or the early religions of Europe by the church as something demonic because they're colluding with the devil. That people today are trying to get away from that title because it really doesn't fit. It has too much propaganda on top of it. And, instead of fighting the propaganda, just give it a new name. Everybody else is doing it. Why not us? Give it a new name, and we'll start all over again with a clean slate. So pagan metaphysics is kind of becoming that. Here in the United States, people confuse Wicca with modern-day neo-paganism. And one of the things that makes it confusing is that Wicca is so popular and it gets so written about. But in pagan metaphysics, there's a broad umbrella of religion and many denominations under that further define the belief and define how to put the beliefs in practice. So what a Baptist is to Christianity, Wicca is to pagan metaphysics. They're one of the biggest in the United States, but they're not the only one, and they're not the biggest in the world. People may have heard of a tradition called Strega, which is Italian witchcraft. There's
oh yes, I have. As soon as you're saying it, of course. Okay, go ahead, sir.
What's her name from Fleetwood Mac? She's Strega. The little witch. She just had a birthday. What's her name?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Evil can tell me in the chat room. Anyway. So there's a lot of different religions, and for instance, mine is a Celtic shamanistic path, and it's a combination of Celtic and Cherokee. But then there are some that are just Celtic. There are some people that practice a Native American spirituality, but they implement some of the European approaches to their practices. Stevie Nicks, the little witch, the little witch. I believe Shirley MacLaine gave her the label, the Little Witch. She thinks she's just the cutest thing in the world. I love them both. They're just great. So anyway, so there's a lot of different denominations. Wicca is just the most popular one here in the United States, but it is not a religion unto itself. So, we have certain times of the year where we practice and we honor nature because we are part of nature. They are usually very seasonal. Our biggest holiday is Samhain, which is the night of October 31st, which is how Halloween came about, when the church tried to take our holiday and convert. They tried to convert pagans to Christianity by taking on their holidays and making them into something else. So Samhain for us is the end of summer. So it's a celebration. It's a harvest festival. It's a big celebration for the harvest. But it is also the time where we believe that the veil between the world of the living and the world of the dead is at its thinnest, and we can communicate and honor those that have come before us and our ancestors. So the church comes along and they take that holiday and they turned it into honoring your family that has passed on All Saints' Eve or All Hallows' Eve, and then honoring the saints on All Saints' Day, which is November the 1st. So there's a lot of confusion about, some of the things that we do as pagans in the world today, because we're trying to overcome all of that propaganda from the early church. Witchcraft as a craft, casting spells and all that kind of stuff, we certainly do that. Not everybody does, but many do. Not all traditions are like Wicca. They believe in their troth of faith. They believe in you can practice, but you don't use your magic to hurt anyone else. Not all traditions believe that. Mine doesn't. So you screw with me, just try to hurt my family, I'm likely to try to cast some kind of, very nasty spell in your direction. Okay. And then there are people that will say, well, it's spells and all that other kind of stuff or devil worship. Another misconception, we don't believe in the devil, so it's hard to, worship something you don't believe in. The devil is a Christian concept. Devil worship, therefore, is not a pagan belief because they believe in the doctrine and the history of Abraham, so it's Christian. It might be the dark side of Christianity, but it's Christian, or at least their realm of, non-pagan beliefs. Okay, just a short 5-minute version.
And if you haven't said it during this broadcast, I really, really love you and your family, Spring. So
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So I don't want any bad mojo coming my way.
There's a lot of people that don't like the word witch because of all of the negative connotations that come with it. In my tradition, we don't use that label at all. We work to be, in harmony with nature, in balance with nature. Basically, pagan metaphysics is a religion that respects all things, seen and unseen, and lives in harmony with our surrounding world. To us, that world is not just Earth, it's the entire universe. So we try to live in harmony with everything. Too much of anything, even if it's good for you, is bad. Okay. So we try not to swing the pendulum one way or the other, but, accept everybody for who and what they are and try to avoid the idiots.
That's a little hard to do for the most part.
Yes, it is.
Why is, and it's one of these things I probably have been taught several times over the years and just don't recall. Why is the veil considered to be the thinnest on All Hallows Eve? Is it the concentration of the intent of people celebrating it, or?
Well, I think All Hallows, Samhain is the Celtic New Year. So it's, the big time where you're putting the past behind you and you're getting ready to go to the future. And I'm not 100% sure where the idea that it's the time of the year where the veil is the thinnest, but I have a feeling it comes from a Celtic legend that has to do with the gods coming and helping at the end of the harvest and bringing on the new year. And there's a lot of Celtic stories about that, about the gods coming and helping with the harvest and accepting offerings to them that have come from the harvest, and they burn the bonfires, and
right.
they summon the deities to come. We're having this big bonfire party kind of a thing, and from the bonfire that's blessed by the shamans of the time. A lot of people think that Ireland was nothing but the Druids, and that's not true. The Druids were only one, and each region had its own shamanistic culture, and the Druids tried to bring them all together, but they failed. There was too much competition between one, Irish domain from another, and they didn't want to share. They wanted to have their own stuff. So Druidism failed when it tried to bring everybody together. So there are so many different regional myths and legends about different, Celtic heroes and Celtic gods that come and help that individual region, that if you go from region to region, you can kind of tell some of the stories that are the same, but their names have been changed because they wanted to make it important to that particular area. And so it's hard for scholars to pinpoint exactly where the belief that it's the thinnest came from, because that myth from that area says this, and that myth from that area said that, and they're not sure who said it first.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, historically, how it goes, I'm of the thought, though, thinking at this point in time, if people believe this and there are different celebrations and interactions, so forth, I'm a very big believer all about intent. So I would also then, at this point, kind of suspect that it very well could be by the concentration of people's intentions and energy for that, thinking it is now. Yeah. Well, we are going to have to take a top-of-the-hour break.
Okay.
We will be right back in just a couple minutes with more from our guest, Springwolf, and the Paranormal MD Show. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back in just a couple minutes.
You're listening to the Unexplained Network on 24.7 The Stream.
To speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
Public access channel. Interested in broadcasting on this channel? Contact us at info@whvrdigital.com and host a live program anytime, any day for only $30 each program. You even get to keep the recording. The Public Access Channel. We're here to serve you. 24.7 The Stream. Get lost in the realm of thrilling mystery with the Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Follow 6 small-town teenagers who decide to make a ghost hunting documentary and become blindly thrown into a world of haunting chills they were not expecting in Lost Mojo. Or follow college student Scotty Brown, who is aggressively haunted by vivid nightmares and daytime apparitions. As he begins to search for answers, he puts himself and those closest to him face to face with pure evil. Can he defeat these malevolent beings with a small team of paranormal investigators? Find out in her second title, Mojo. The Mojo series is available on paperback or digital download on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. The Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Get your copies today if you've got the Mojo. HauntedMindTV.com is giving a chance for a local fan and guest to come to the Crescent Mine and have the opportunity to earn up to $10,000. To enter, visit HauntedMindTV.com and become an annual subscriber. Submit an essay explaining why you should be chosen to earn up to $10,000. Submit your essay through HauntedMindTV.com's contact area with attached resume and photo and wait for your chance to earn up to $10,000 from HauntedMindTV.com. Fan will be chosen June 10th, 2014, and $1 from every HauntedMindTV.com subscriber is donated to one of our many charities like Wounded Warriors Project, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, ASPCA, or Camp You Can Do. Get started now by visiting HauntedMindTV.com and submit your essay, resume, and photo for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the Crescent Mine. So, do you have what it takes? HauntedMindTV.com. We interrupt our scheduled programming to bring you the following conspiracy theory. Humpty Dumpty was pushed. We now return you to our scheduled 24.7 program, already in progress. Kinda.
Welcome back to the second hour of the Paranormal MD Show here on the Unexplained channel at WHVR 24.7 The Stream. I'm Mary Marshall, your host. This portion of the program is sponsored in part by HauntedMindTV.com, where you can earn up to $10,000 just by becoming an annual subscriber and submitting an essay. Visit HauntedMindTV.com for more information and your chance to visit the Crescent Mine. I do want to add a note to this is that next week, Larry and Stacy Overman from the Crescent Mine, owners of that and HauntedMindTV.com, will be joining me on the show. Also, please know the phone lines are now open if you'd like to call into the show. The direct studio phone line is 618-421-4522. So, Spring, we have some questions from the chat room.
Yay!
So I'll run through them as we go. This one is from Marcellus, who asks, are you more open to attacks or attachments from demonic creatures because you don't believe in a Christian faith?
Well, there's two ways to answer that question.
Yeah.
First of all, the Christians aren't the only ones that believe in demons.
Who else?
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody has demons. But it's how they define what those demons are, and most of what people know here in the United States view demons from the Christian perspective, that they're evil and they're sent by the devil to possess you like, what's her name spinning her head around and spitting green pea soup. I hate those movies. I cannot stand those movies. Okay, so anyway, in Hinduism, demons are not necessarily bad spirits. They have good demons and they have bad demons. In Buddhism, I'm not even too sure they have demons. I would have to look that one up, but if I recall correctly, I don't think they do. In pagan metaphysics, we see the universe as a hierarchy. There is a structure. It's not chaos. Out of chaos comes creation, and within creation there is a structure. And in the structure that we believe in, there is actually a hierarchy. And the demons, the way we look at them, they are angelic creatures that guard the lower realms of those spiritual levels of existence. So let's use an example. When Hitler committed suicide, after being responsible for killing so many people, the divine universe put what we call the divine laws into effect, and he is sent to the lower realms of existence where he cannot interact with living beings, so he can't come back and haunt anybody. He has already done all of his, spiritual manipulation when he was alive, and so he will be punished. His karma, if you think of it that way, he will be punished, and his punishment is to live in the lower realms. And the demons are the angelic creatures that guard that realm and will not allow his energy to escape and come and mess with us. Can you imagine what would happen if Hitler killed himself and then came back and started, haunting the Jews or trying to possess them or hurt them? Okay, it would go against all the laws of spiritual understanding if we are here to learn lessons, redeem and repay karma, to enlighten our knowledge, to attain enlightenment. Then we can't do that if a spirit is coming here to manipulate or be allowed to manipulate our chosen path. So that hierarchy and the laws of energy that are in place, that's how we see demons. They are the ones that guard the nasty people. They're the tough angels,
Okay.
Don't come fight with them because they'll knock you down, kind of things. And they just got the name demons, and I don't know how. I'd have to look up the etymology of the word, but I bet there's something in there somewhere that talks about them being guardians of something.
Interesting. Okay.
So to answer your question, understanding those concepts, to answer your question, because we don't believe in Christianity, are we open to demonic possession? I don't believe in possession. Are we open to demonic attachments? I think depending on the kind of person you are here in the physical world, the energy you put out is the energy you're going to attract. So if you're pagan and you don't believe in Christianity and you are a nasty SOB, you are going to attract that kind of energy to you, be it an earthbound entity or, a spirit that wants to mess with you. You are going to attract that negative energy to you. So in that framework, yes, you probably could, but you're doing that because that's the energy you're putting out, not because of what you do or don't believe.
And that essentially, too, when you're saying the energy that you put out, that would be your understanding of what karma is what you're putting out, what you're going to get back, or is there more to it for you?
Right. To us, karma is anything you think, you say, or you do creates an energy, and that energy creates a response, and the response is the karma.
I like that description. That's a really nice description. I don't think I've ever...
It doesn't matter if you don't say it or don't act on it. If you're thinking it, you're creating. Einstein said thought is energy. To create it, use your imagination. So if you are creating energy because you're thinking the person that's in your office that you don't like, and you see them walking across the hallway to the cafeteria, and you're thinking all these nasty thoughts and calling them bunches of names, you're still creating the karma for that energy you're creating, even though you're not saying it or acting upon it.
Yeah, this is I did think that is really well put. Because I think, again, you hit this word that's thrown out there a lot, and I don't know that everybody really has an idea of what karma is. And it's just like, well, what you put out, you get back. Well, what does that mean? So thank you.
And then in the pagan world, you start getting into that, karma threefold law and ninefold law and tenfold law, and it just gets all confusing.
Oh, goodness. Do I even want to ask?
No, let's just skip that one.
Okay, let's just skip that. It did sound like, 3 hours from now.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's, you know what?
Marcellus asked another question. Can we answer that one?
He's asked 2 more questions, actually. So we'll just go through this. Do you feel that witches or others that use magic and spells are more open to the paranormal than, regular investigators?
I would have to say yes and no because it needs an explanation. In order for a witch to cast a spell, let me think for just a second, talking about magic. There's 2 different kinds of magic. There's spellcraft and there's witchcraft. Spellcraft is practiced with the manipulation of energy without an emphasis of a spiritual belief. We call these people ceremonial mages. And they're not quite completely different, but they are, because they don't look at the spiritual laws that go around the casting of magic. Whereas in witchcraft, we look at the energy and how we interact with the divine universe. Okay, let's quickly define the divine universe. I am not the goddess, you are not the god, but you and I and all things, seen and unseen, create the divine universe. We are totally connected and intertwined.
Yeah.
Ceremonial mages don't see it that way. That's the biggest difference between the two. Okay, so when we cast a spell, we are casting a spell that is going to ripple through the entire universe like a pond. It will touch everything in some way, even in things that we don't understand or we don't see. So when we cast a spell, we are using meditation and our connection to the universe to manipulate that energy and make it happen. It is not that we're casting the spell that makes us open to paranormal things. It is the meditation. So anybody that meditates and lifts their energy so that it connects with the bigger connected energy, it opens your awareness to everything that exists. And when you're open to it, then you can sense it and you're more aware of it. So it's the meditation that makes us more open to what you would term as paranormal and what we would term as just the natural universe.
That even with all of that, which you did actually straighten out some things for me in there, but where it's ending at, that makes complete sense, that because you're just going to be more open, so you are more susceptible than the person who has a closed off, has more closed off energy field.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I teach in meditation is that every single one of us is psychic to some degree. We all have a sixth sense. We all have a gut instinct of, you're lost out driving on Sunday and you want to know which way to go, and you follow your gut instinct and find out you're going the right direction, even though you find out an hour later. You followed your gut instinct and you went where you needed to go. Now, when you're at work and you're working through a problem, you're using your instincts along with your knowledge to work through the problem and find the answer. All of that stuff is psychic energy. You may not call it that, but that is what it is. So when you can sit down and meditate, you build a bridge between your conscious mind and your superconscious mind, and you link the two together so much that the superconscious awareness is more in your present mind. You're always connected to it because it becomes part of you. I don't know if you know, but a couple years ago, there is a there was a doctor in Chicago, a neurologist, who wanted to study the effects of meditation on human beings. And he brought in a couple of Buddhist monks and put them in, not an EKG thing, that big thing you put them in and they get look at the head.
MRI?
Yeah, an MRI, thank you.
Okay,
so he put them in an MRI and he tracked their brain just in normal, everyday, here I am, let's have a conversation kind of mode. Mm-hmm. And then he asked them to meditate. And within the monks, their brain activity didn't change that much. But when he brought in somebody who meditated once a week, and he did their brain activity, it was what he would call a normal brain activity going on in an everyday person. And then when he asked them to meditate, the same areas of the brain that showed activity in the monk showed it in the person when they were meditating, but it was weaker. It wasn't as strong as the monk who meditates every single day. So he concluded that it's when you meditate all the time, you are actually building connectors, neurons, everything in your brain is building a stronger connected bridge that stays open all the time. And that happens through constant meditation. So when you're in that state of awareness, that you're aware of all of the energy around you. Earlier you were talking about going, with your tools on an investigation and picking up EMF and all of that stuff. Someone that meditates every day can walk in there and feel that energy without a sensor because they are the sensor. And when you can feel that energy, then you know it's there and you're open to figuring out what it is, and you're able to sense a spirit. Now, to us, there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit, and they actually feel different. But you can sense the change in the energy field that's around you, so you can feel if a ghost walks through your energy field, then you know something has just walked past you, and you might try to hone in on that and connect it. So in that way, we are more sensitive to the paranormal, but only because we meditate often.
I love your explanations.
Well, gee, thanks. I'm very wordy. I'm sorry. I'm very wordy.
I like it, though. See, that's me, though, because it really does give us just a lot of information. I think I'm going to have to go back and listen to this show again on demand just so I can absorb it all.
Sounds good. Come read my blog. There you go.
It's great. Yeah. Well, there you go. You can do that. Well, you had said there's a difference between what you feel between a ghost and a spirit. Mm-hmm. What is the difference?
Well, everything you ask has a big explanation. It's a little question.
Maybe I should wait because we're going to be going to break in 2 minutes. Is this going to be?
No, okay. We'll try to do this one fast. Okay. You know about your chakra centers, right?
Yes.
From the head, the top of your head, down to your root chakra, which is kind of down by your tailbone. Okay. When you're in spirit, you have spirit chakras and you have physical chakras. So with each you have to believe in reincarnation for this. Okay, so you when you reincarnate, the lower chakras from your solar plexus down are new. They're recreated for this lifetime. Those are your physical chakras. So when you see a ghost that is earthbound, they don't want to be dead, they don't know they're dead, or they died so suddenly they're confused about where they are. So there are all of these types of ghosts are attached to the earth. You will see them head to toe. You will see all of their chakras. So you'll see them standing there in their boots. A spirit, however, has already let go of the physical world. So those lower chakras, those lower physical chakras that they had in the lifetime that they just completed, they don't need them anymore. So that energy is let go, and the only thing that you will see is from their head to their solar plexus.
Interesting.
It'll be like they're just floating.
It makes sense. Again, I get that because you do get that difference between a spirit and there's a lot of different names that people throw out for things. Right. And often it's like as soon as somebody talks about it, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, and a spirit is lighter energy because they're in a higher realm of existence, so they're lifted up, so to speak. And an earthbound entity or a ghost is still stuck here, so it's in heavier energy. So it's a I don't want to necessarily say heavier. Let's say it's a more defined mass of energy.
I have to go to break.
Okay.
So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Unexplained Network on 24.7 The Stream.
To speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
Get lost in the realm of thrilling mystery with the Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Follow 6 small-town teenagers who decide to make a ghost hunting documentary and become blindly thrown into a world of haunting chills they were not expecting in Lost Mojo. Or follow college student Scotty Brown, who is aggressively haunted by vivid nightmares and daytime apparitions. As he begins to search for answers, he puts himself and those closest to him face to face with pure evil. Can he defeat these malevolent beings with a small team of paranormal investigators? Find out in her second title, Mojo. The Mojo series is available on paperback or digital download on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. The Mojo series by Chris Cedarstein. Get your copies today if you've got the Mojo. HauntedMindTV.com is giving a chance for a local fan and guest to come to the Crescent Mine and have the opportunity to earn up to $10,000. To enter, visit HauntedMindTV.com and become an annual subscriber. Submit an essay explaining why you should be chosen to earn up to $10,000. Submit your essay through HauntedMindTV.com's contact area with attached resume and photo and wait for your chance to earn up to $10,000 from HauntedMindTV.com. Fan will be chosen June 10th, 2014, and $1 from every HauntedMindTV.com subscriber is donated to one of our many charities like Wounded Warriors Project, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, ASPCA, or Camp You Can Do. Get started now by visiting HauntedMindTV.com and submit your essay, resume, and photo for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the Crescent Mine. So, do you have what it takes? HauntedMindTV.com. The air staff at WHVR-DB are dedicated to the end. Or until Kmart starts hiring again. Thank you for listening to WHVR Digital Broadcasting.
Good evening and welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. You are listening live to the Paranormal MD Radio Show on the Unexplained channel at 24.7 The Stream. And I'm your host, Mary Marshall. I would like to let everybody know that if you have missed a portion of the show, you can listen to it in its entirety at WHVR's on demand at WHVRdigital.com. This week's show, though, will be available to listen to for free via the WHVR phone app for the next week. After that, it will be moved to a paid subscription archive. For more information, check out the details at WHVRdigital.com. Also, just letting you know that you can also go to the ParanormalMDRadio.com on-demand page to catch up on any past shows anytime you want to, too. All right, so now, Spring, we established that spirits are basically a higher energy. They've moved to a higher plane. Ghost, a lot of people might identify it, and please let me know if this is, as I say, that if you agree with this, that ghosts are more earthbound spirits. And you were establishing that we actually will, due to the chakras, see them differently. Is that okay? We have a question here. I'm going to go to one of Marcellus's, which is, do you feel that the veil between the spiritual world and ours is thinner now, and that is why people are seeing and experiencing the paranormal.
Nope. You owe all of that to TV.
Okay, so you think that well, here's the question though. Do they think they're seeing it, or are they really seeing it because they're just more conscious of this type of activity because of TV?
I think probably a little bit of both. There's probably a lot of people out there that want to be or think that they're special because they can see something or feel something or talk to something that nobody else can. And so, you have some of those people that watch all these paranormal shows, and, I don't watch them, but I hear Paul and Sushi talk about them all the time, and they really don't like them. So my impression is warped, okay? My impression of the shows is that they are trying to entertain. They are not trying to be a documentary and show the truth. And so they, they try to sensationalize things, and people become intertwined in what it is that they're doing. So they want to be able to do that same thing on life, in real life, because they've become interested in it. So there are probably people out there that think that they're seeing something or participating in something paranormal when they probably aren't, but they want to believe that they are so badly they're almost making it happen. Then there's the people that, they find those things interesting, and they may hear something or think of something differently than what they have thought of before, and it has broadened their awareness. So it has opened them to real energy that's around them that they may never have noticed before. So it may seem like more people are having these experiences because they are becoming more acceptable of them, instead of just denying it and saying that they're crazy.
Yeah, and I think what I was going to say, though, too, is that's part of it is people are just talking about it more. It's so at the forefront. And that's where more and more is coming out. So it is that hard to judge. You sit back and you're like, is it happening more? Or people just, out of the closet talking about it more?
There's a lot more acceptance on going and getting a reading from somebody today than there was, say, back in the 60s. So if you take the stigma away from things, people are going to start talking about it more. They're going to start sharing experiences that they may have legitimately experienced, but were afraid to talk about it because they didn't want to be ridiculed. So it's possible it's getting talked about more because people are more open to hearing it and listening to it, instead of just pointing a finger and saying, you're nuts, somebody needs to take you to the funny farm.
Yeah, I have to say, even though I was in the investigative field, the more I went into teaching about it and doing the radio show now about it, more people than ever, in the last 5 years of doing this have come forth. Every time I talk to somebody, because they know, hey, she's okay to talk to about it. Mm-hmm. And in general, I think, like you said, we're saying, people in general are talking amongst each other, about it. So that's the one thing I will say with the television shows is that and I say this all the time, it is an entertainment medium. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you do get some decent information out of there, but ultimately it's entertainment. But the one good thing, and this goes back to some of the beginning shows that were out there, 10, 12 years ago already, they really did help bring it to the forefront, which I think is a good thing because people are talking about it, and then consequentially we're all learning more as a result.
Right. I keep telling people it doesn't matter what got your interest into whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is. What got your interest into the topic you feel passionate about. What's important is what you do after that first source. Do you go out and look for the facts and do the research and find out the history and get the real story? Or do you stick with what it was that got you into it that may not have been such a good thing?
Right. And maybe that same approach in watching the television shows, though.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just sitting back and resting on, okay, that's what it's all about, say, and then now you start doing your own reading and your own learning on it.
Right.
To see what it really is going on.
Excuse me. Yeah.
There is a question here from Barry who asks, do metaphysical pagan practitioners hold high office in government or used for consultation and advice?
Well, Barry, I grew up in Northern Virginia, 10 miles outside of Washington, D.C. I grew up in the town that was the company town. Either your family member worked for the government or you knew somebody that worked for the government. It was the company town. Now, it's changed. It's become an internet town now. But, back when I was a kid, it was a company town. And I know many people that worked at embassies or worked with embassy staff or would travel with foreign affairs people and went to other places. And one of the biggest things that they would talk about, our government representatives overseas, one of the biggest mistakes that they would make is that they were arrogant into thinking that everybody wanted to be like us. And they would try to use their metaphysical understanding of the world and how we're all walking our own path for our own enlightenment, and therefore it's not the same, and that's okay. They would try to use those messages in providing advice to the politician or the bureaucrat or whoever it was, and trying to get them to pull back on everybody wants to be American so that they could communicate and come to agreement and understanding and still letting that culture keep their culture. So do they hold high office? I don't know that we would necessarily know the answer to that question. I'm sure there are some politicians that are not Christian, but they're never going to let you know that they're not. Because that's our society.
Yeah. All right. I am going to move on. We have one. This is an interesting one. This is from Marcellus. Have you ever encountered a doppelganger? What happened and where was it at? Where was this at, if you have?
Okay, for
doppelgangers.
Yeah, you got to explain what a doppelganger is first, right?
Yeah. Because again, we make this assumption that everybody knows, but they don't. So yes, please.
Okay, well, it's like everything else. There are different concepts of what a doppelganger is. There are some people that think a doppelganger is you, exactly you, in another incarnated being, and so it's like having a twin somewhere here in the world, and that one of you is good and one of you is bad. There is also the perspective that this one's hard to explain. Okay, from a reincarnation point of view, we see that a difference between a spirit and a soul. Your spirit is you, every lifetime you've ever had, wherever it has been. Don't assume it's on Earth. Every lifetime you have every experience you've had in spirit or in the physical world, that is a spirit. It is the complete whole concept of the energy of that entity. In order to incarnate, you can't use all of that knowledge, all of that experience into one incarnated body. It would be overwhelming. So when you're in spirit, you pick certain lifetimes that you have had so that you can pull in the lessons, the knowledge, the talents, and the karma from those lifetimes into this incarnated state in order to work on those things and focus on those things, and that becomes your soul. So your soul is a subset of your spirit. Now, one of the things in pagan metaphysics is we believe in balance. Everything is balanced. In order to balance the strands of physical DNA you also have spiritual DNA. So you have 23 strands of DNA. You have 22 past lifetimes plus this lifetime makes 23, and that becomes your spiritual DNA. And that spiritual DNA is manifest in the physical body through your chakra systems. So your chakras are the manifestation of the soul in the body. Now, from a metaphysical point of view, because you've got this big, huge spirit that could have thousands and thousands and thousands of lifetimes, the spirit may decide it is going to create a subset of itself in this incarnation, and at the same time take different aspects of itself and create another incarnation over here on the other side of the world at the same time. And therefore you have a doppelganger effect. And those two incarnated souls may never meet each other, but then again, somebody may decide I'm going to travel to, Istanbul, and they run into each other. And hey, you look just like me, you act like me, you feel like me. Well, on a spiritual level, you are me. Did that answer the question? Did I ever meet one? No, I've never met one. Did you ever meet one?
Yeah.
No, I've never met one.
See, and I also have another take, I have to say, with the doppelganger, because you start getting into more like from a science perspective, and you're talking about a multiverse. Mm-hmm. Dimensionally, if we do have exact copies of ourselves in other dimensions, and that we can have, and again, these are all theoretical things, you're dealing with wormholes and things like that. But if we can have some sort of, and to put it easy, tear in the fabric of time, you can have that run-in with yourself in that sense, too. I just wanted to throw that one in there because it's like...
Well, scientifically, we don't have a good explanation on what time is.
No, we don't. Essentially, there is no such thing as time.
Exactly. And from what I understand, on a spiritual level, time does not exist the same on the spiritual realms that it does here on the physical realm. And in the spiritual realm, every moment is in a moment. Everything's happening all at once.
Okay.
In that one moment.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because and here, interestingly, I have had, on an investigation, a question was asked where we were talking about, do you, trying to figure out stuff, do you sleep? Do you do this? Why aren't you answering our questions? You don't ever tell us the good stuff. But somebody had said, as a matter of fact, it was the anthropology professor I co-teach one of the classes with. And he said, or as my sons would say, maybe we're the dead ones. So then he proceeds to ask, are we dead? Are we the dead ones? And then an answer comes back from a male that's not there, because this is just, we hear this later on the recording, that says yes. Now, he could have been just messing with us too, because, they do at times. So it could have been that, but it does also give you that, could be from the perspective of all time happening at once. To somebody, we are dead. Mm-hmm. Everybody's dead and everybody's living as far as in this plane that we're in. So it just does.
You could also think of it as this incarnated soul. We in order to learn our lessons and redeem our karma and do our thing, we disconnect our physical brains from that higher consciousness that we have. So we're not aware of all of the answers. We don't have all of the information our greater spirit has. And in some ways, I can see, when we are incarnated, we're dead to the rest of the universe because we don't connect with it. We're not aware of it.
Oh, that is an interesting perspective on it. Yeah. And see, that's the thing when you see, that's the thing when you get into all of this, there are so many avenues and so many things to cover. Just like when you're simply trying to answer a question, you're like, well, I better explain this first before I get to that, to the actual answer.
When you're not on the same page.
so intertwined and complicated.
Right.
All right, we have another question. Can spirits learn? Oh, yeah. I'm answering you already, Marcellus, yes. That my opinion. Can spirits learn while they're no longer in human form and keep up with current events?
Okay.
I don't know about the current. That's somewhat learn.
When you're in spirit, you know everything because you are interconnected to everything. So you have knowledge in the spirit world that you don't have here in the physical world. We're the dumb ones.
Mm-hmm.
So
learn.
Yeah, but at the same time, our spirit has things that it needs to learn in order to attain enlightenment. There's a lot of what does that mean? Attaining enlightenment. What happens to you then? And even in the pagan world, there are a whole lot of theories about what happens when you become enlightened. So let's not go there because it's a whole different topic. Okay, so just like in the metaphysical world, whether it's New Age or New Thought or pagan metaphysics, they share a perspective that when we are here in the physical world, we have spirit guides that work with us. They try to help us learn our lessons and direct our path and give us information when we ask them and listen. When you sit down and try to find out, who your spirit guide is, then you can talk to them and ask them questions and help guide you through your daily activities. Well, by the spirit doing that, they're actually learning things. They're learning things from us, and they're learning about compassion and unconditional love. They're learning about, how we judge from a spiritual perspective, just as we judge here in the physical world. And it drives me nuts sometimes when people get all upset when they talk about you shouldn't judge other people. You judge things every moment of every day. If you're not judging other people, then you're just being stupid. You have to make judgments because you need to know who is going to benefit your spiritual path and who is a danger that you need to avoid and cross the street and stay away from. You have to make those kinds of judgments on people, and it depends on what information you're using to make that judgment. So when you can connect with, that higher spiritual force or your spirit guides that are working with you, then you can pull in additional information that helps you decide what it is that you need to do. So something as simple, one of the things that I do is counsel rape victims. And there was a lady who told me she had a gut feeling about this guy that she saw. She had no other reason except she just felt that he was bad mojo, and she needed to go a different way to get to her car. And she talked herself out of it, said she was being stupid. She ignored her gut feeling. She ignored all of that, I have no reason to have this judgment attitude. I shouldn't judge people. And she went to her car the way she normally did, which was down a staircase in a garage. And he grabbed her and he raped her. Had she listened to her judgment and not talked herself out of it, she may not have been raped that day.
Right.
So it's the way we think of things and the information that we pull in, no matter if we're in the physical or if we're in the spiritual, there are still things that we need to learn, and we do it together. I'm done.
I like that little, I'm done. That's always
boy, I could keep going on that one, so I have to say I gotta cut that one off.
You basically just edited yourself.
There you go.
But yeah, that is true. It's like that the whole intuition, and not that this is in any way really applies to the profound explanation and conversation we've had. But when I was washing clothes the other day,
it can come when you're washing the dishes. You go.
And I put the stuff in the washer, and I'm thinking to myself, I really should check. There's probably a Kleenex, a tissue in the pocket. And I didn't. And sure enough, there was. And then it's just a mess to clean. And I did. I remember opening going, why didn't I just listen to that little voice that said, check the pockets?
Yep.
And now I had tissue all over the dryer and the washer and the floor because now you have to shake it out. And it's a mess. See,
sometimes I think when you get those gut feelings and you acknowledge that you have them and you talk yourself out of it and then it happens, I think we do little things to ourselves to remind us that we have that intuition and we need to listen to it. And little things will happen, like the Kleenex.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's taking the crayon out of the child's pants before it goes in the dryer. When you don't do those things and you get the, well, I told you to, why didn't you do it? To me, I'm always worried that those little things are happening to set me up for that big thing that I really need to pay attention to. And if I'm not paying attention to the little things, when that big thing comes, I'm screwed.
That's interesting because that's something that I've taken, I agree with, because I've often said, I go, when these things happen, I'm like, what's the point? There's sometimes it's just pointless information or and I do believe, and the only thing I've thought is it's because at some point it's going to be something important or something that I really need to listen to, and this is just my, training, if you will. Pay attention, to this thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, sometimes we do, and we all have that.
Yeah.
We all have that voice, that intuition, and it just depends to what degree, I guess you can take it to. Mm-hmm. You're paying attention to it and working with it.
Right.
I was just
let me. I want to respond to something I read in the chat room. Marcellus, no matter how much of a pain in the butt you are, your spirit guides still will be there, and they will still love you because they already knew you were a pain in the butt when they agreed to be your spirit guide.
Is that what he's in there saying that? I didn't.
Yeah. So you're screwed. Whether you know it or not, they ain't going away. So you got to watch out when you're taking a shower.
I just, because it's funny, as I had stopped reading, because I'm obviously listening to you, but I landed up at one point something about me in there, and that caught so I landed up typing to him. So you can have my spirit guide, just letting you know she's rather annoying at times.
There you go. My husband is a skeptic. He's an atheist. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't believe in psychic abilities, but he listens to me when I talk. And when he smells roses in the house, he tells me my grandmother's here. When we smell somebody smoking in the house, he knows his dad is here. So, he's skeptic to a point.
That's interesting, though.
He doesn't believe in ghosts, but don't mess with the ones that hang around us,
Yeah. It's interesting because you hear that a lot from people. They'll be like, I don't really believe in this, but then you find them saying and doing things.
Yes.
That it's like, well, you kind of are.
Yeah. One of the biggest questions that I get from people that are not in my faith, if everybody has a spirit guide and they don't know it, then how do you know they have one? And the laws of metaphysics is that everybody has a spirit guide. You don't need to know that they're there for them to be there. Their existence is not ordained by you. You're just a piddly little human that doesn't know crap most of the time.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of this, because I don't want to, we're getting, in the last, 7 minutes or so of the show, and I want to make sure I get to this, because can you please explain a little bit about because it's like more of a series as far as the book that you have, and kind of tell people what it's about, where it's available, how they can get it, and so on.
Okay. Pagan Metaphysics 101 is in print. You can get it Amazon. There are some stores that carry hard copies. I believe it just went digital recently, and so you can get it for Kindle, I believe. So it's about the you see a lot of books out in the world about Wicca and witchcraft, and they all talk about what the holidays are and how you practice and how you set up an altar and what you need to do in order to cast a spell or create a circle. But most of them don't tell you about the underlying spirituality behind those things. Why do you do it?
Right.
What is a spirit? What is a spirit? What is a soul? What is reincarnation? How do you define karma? How is all of this stuff related? The biggest thing that I find when I'm teaching classes is that people they believe this, they believe that, and they believe some of this, but they don't understand how those three things are connected. If you ask somebody if they believe in reincarnation and they say yes, then ask them, how does it work? And a lot of people can't tell you. They don't know how it works. They don't know the mechanics behind how it works.
Die from this plane and you just come back again. You choose how to...
It's magic.
Yeah.
It's just magic. So what I tried to do in Pagan Metaphysics 101 is set the foundation of what the metaphysical belief is. Now, one of the reasons that Pagan Metaphysics has become a popular name is because metaphysics is a system of understanding of the spiritual world that actually exists in all religions. Even Christianity has some of it. We believe, what you put out, you get back. A Wiccan would say, what you get back, what you put out, you get back threefold. Well, in Christianity, what you sow, so shall you reap. So we all believe in a lot of the same things. We just have different labels for them. So what I try to do in the first book is explain the foundation of the beliefs and why things are connected and work the way they do. The next series of books just expand on some of that or take you to the next level, and they're not published yet. There's a couple of little bumps in the road to getting the second one published, but it's in the works. Hopefully soon.
Okay. Now, excuse me. Now you do other type of outreach too with people where, I'm thinking, I might be wrong about this, but as I was reading, as far as connecting with people. Now, is it just through the show and just through your books, or do you go out and you do lectures and so forth?
You want to call me up and have me come and do a lecture at your place? No problem. Send me some money. I'm there.
That's right.
I do. I love talking about this stuff, and I'll talk about it to anybody, anywhere. There's a question of how you're going to get there, but I used to hold classes, but when the economy tanked, one of the places that I used to hold classes went under, and new landlords come along and they don't want people like you in their building. So you got to find new places, and there's not many new places here in the middle of nowhere. So when I was in Northern Virginia, I had a little place. People came. We had classes. We talked about this stuff. We had formal a series of classes in a formal kind of classroom education kind of a thing. And I would love to get back into doing that, but I need a place to do it. So that's one of them things that you got to put down the road when you have the funding for it. So if somebody's rich out there and wants to, donate some money to me, I'll surely take it. I'm trying to win the lottery really hard. But, the other thing that I like to do is because I don't have a place, people send me questions all the time. And I get some great questions from around the world. And if it comes to me in an email, I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
And I love doing that, and I do get some great questions from people from far off places it amazes me, that this place is that there's somebody in this location that's asking.
Right. I know
this question. That if that question got out, they'd get killed. Those amaze me.
Yeah.
And it happens more than you might think it does.
Really?
In India, if someone is accused of witchcraft, they're still stoned. So they don't like people knowing they're interested in paganism. But they'll find the guts to send me an email and ask a question. in the Middle East, there are several places that I'll get emails from, and my first thought is this has got to be coming from a soldier that's stationed over there. And then there are times where I'll find out it's a woman. Oh my God! Can you imagine if somebody found out she was asking this question? What would happen to her? What would they do to her? And I'm astonished that the guts that some people take in order to fulfill their spiritual need, it amazes me. So how can you not answer a question?
Yeah, I mean the type of things that you see. I'm not getting those kinds of things. I get other types of paranormal type questions, but what you're talking about, wow. Because
I get some of those funny ones too, though. Like the guy that told me that he was an alien from some other planet and he's stuck in this physical body and he wants to know how he can get back home.
Did you tell him?
Yeah, I told him he needs to find that very nice facility, with the people in the white coats. No, because I put myself out there the way I have as a spiritual shaman. I took an oath when, I was initiated as a shaman that, I use my knowledge for compassion. So, you can't just come out and tell somebody, you're crazy, you need to go and talk to a psychiatrist. You have to believe in them and understand that they fully believe that what they're telling you is true. So how are you going to use that belief to get them to get the help that they need? So you have to answer them with respect and find a way to get them to talk to somebody. Most of the time I can tell them, the anxiety and stress that is involved in that is probably overwhelming, and you probably already know the answer, but you can't see it because you're so stressed out. Have you talked to someone? Have you talked to a therapist so that you can lower the stress and then you'll find the solution? That's all it takes.
That's a good answer. I mean, because exactly, and I did have that somewhat fairly recently from somebody, and I have to say I cannot say, because we can't 100%, that what this person was claiming that they were all going through and experiencing and so on and so forth, is it really happening?
Yeah.
But I kind of knew this person, and so I had concerns about that this could be a mental health issue.
Yes. And
so, again, like, how do you approach that? Because you do want to have that checked, and you have to put, you want to help. I mean, what we do, or people do, is help people.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be supportive, so you do what you can do the best to your ability to try to accomplish that.
It's kind of like you're getting close to the end of time, but I'll tell you a really quick story to give you an example. It doesn't matter what you think; it matters what the person thinks,
mm-hmm.
and it can be the most irrational thing. But you have to understand it's coming from where they are, not where you are.
Right.
So a couple of days ago, I heard our cats rummaging around in the bathroom, getting into something. So I went in there, and they had pulled the shower curtain down, in the little rod, right? And it didn't go down all the way, so all I had to do was push it back up. So I'm standing there, and I pushed the rod back up, and I noticed this brown stuff up on the wall over the, one of them shower things that go all the way up, the bathtub part goes all the way up, and then there's the wall. So there's something on the wall. Now I'm in the bathroom. So the first thing I'm thinking of is, why is there poop up there on the wall? It's an irrational thought.
Yeah.
But, you're in the bathroom. It's where you come from, your perspective. It ended up being a bat.
Oh, my goodness.
So my next thought is, oh, my God, there's a bat in the house. And I run out of the bathroom and I close the door. Now, the door to the bathroom has been open for 7.5 hours. Why, now that I know that there is a bat there, am I thinking it's going to fly out of there? It was an irrational thought.
Yeah.
But
I have to cut
You
you.
have
I'm
to go.
sorry. Yeah, I need to let everybody know that for next week's show, the guest is Larry and Stacy Overman of Haunted Mind TV. I thank you so much, Spring, for being on the show. You've given us so much information. And for anybody who is listening, if you'd like to hear this, if you've missed part of it, I highly recommend